Let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to start with some introductions. Erin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Erin Mastrantonio. I'm Chief Operating Officer and Accessibility Director here at Elevation. I've been with the agency a little over 7 years. I am based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And you will notice among my titles that I don't have anything formally related to AI, but the industry that I work in demands a very deep understanding of it, and I do use it every day in my personal work. So you will constantly find me on Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, et al. And I have taken the time to actually study how these tools work so that I can both optimize my usage of them and also answer common questions that nonprofits have about them. And I'm really excited to be here. I'm grateful to see you all here. And through my accessibility work also, that's kind of how I got into this AI work. There's a lot of overlap between the two, but I'm going to save my commentary about that until later. For now, I'm going to hand it back to Daryl.
All right, thank you, Erin. My name is Daryl Schreiber. I am a nonprofit marketing and development expert with over 10 years of experience helping nonprofit organizations scale their communications and their donor programs. I am also here as your webinar host and Elevation Web's partnership specialist. I'm going to share our agenda with you. And let me just start again by saying thank you so much for being here today and taking an interest in how to get your organization better found by AI. And we have a great presentation for you. I'm really excited to share all of this information with you. So I'm going to be walking you through the first two sections, which are why GEO matters to your org right now, and also how AI picks its sources according to research. And then Erin is going to take us through where people are searching and the playbook. So the playbook session will cover exactly what you need to be doing this week and this quarter to set your organization up for success. So you're going to want to make sure you stay tuned to the end because you're going to get some fantastic actionable insights. So let's start out by let's go ahead and define what GEO stands for, which is, of course, Generative Engine Optimization. Generative search uses AI to synthesize answers to search queries. So when a user types in a search query, instead of giving a list of web links, like in traditional search, AI reads multiple sources and returns a summary of those sources with information citations. And we're going to go more in depth into that. It also lets people search and ask follow-up questions in a conversational way. Sometimes people are using the search query as more of a complete question or a complete sentence than maybe just using a few keywords like they would have done in the past. So, search results are becoming answers. The shift from SEO-based search results to GEO-generated summaries does represent one of the biggest shifts we've seen in the tech space since Google first became a household name. The importance really can't be overstated. As you can see from this slide, on the left-hand side, we have what would be a traditional search result. So you type something into your search engine and it gives you a list of websites with maybe a snippet of text underneath each one. And those are based on Google rankings or other types of rankings, SEO, etc. On the right-hand side, we can see that this is the AI search format where it is a generated summary of multiple sources, and then those sources are cited and clickable for users to go explore more. So, what does this mean for your organization? SEO is still the foundation of a good website presence, and GEO is really building on top of that for AI. It's more important than ever that AI systems be able to extract and evaluate the quality of your content. Otherwise, you risk being left out of all AI answers. And so I'm going to ask another question, so get ready to type in the chat. I would love to hear from you where your organization is with AI and why do you think that it matters at this moment in time? So what prompted you to attend this webinar and what do you think about AI as it relates to your organization right now? I'll give you a moment to type some answers.
Everyone's thinking hard.
Yeah.
All right, Karen. That's a good answer, common answer.
Mhm.
All
Will
right.
help us get to content and information out quicker. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Donations acquired by ChatGPT. That is compelling.
Hmm. That's an interesting one. I
Mhm.
have some more to say about that later. Yeah, just getting started. So the theme here seems to be just getting started. If we are using it, we're mostly using it internally.
Mhm.
Totally valid.
Already
Using it for
seeing growth in
brainstorming.
AI search. That's great. Yeah, still learning. So it seems like we have quite a few folks who are either they're just getting started or they're dipping their toes and they want to learn more strategies to make this more optimized for their nonprofit, which is a great place to be in. You came to the right place. So I'm going to move along to our next slide. Whoops, sorry. I went ahead of myself. So
Mhm.
one of the biggest reasons this matters now is because this is already happening. AI search results are no longer something on the horizon or something that's going to take place in a small percentage of searches any longer. As you'll see in the data that I'm about to present, this is already becoming one of the most prevalent ways that people are getting information on the internet today. So this shift is really evident when we look at these numbers. Google itself says that roughly half of US searches are now showing an AI overview above the ranked links below. We can see that 1 billion users are on ChatGPT, and that makes it the fastest app to reach a billion. 54% of consumers say that AI is more helpful than traditional searches. And the growth potential is huge, with a whopping 693% year-over-year growth in AI referral traffic to US retail sites. And it's forecasted to continue. So by the end of this year, 25% of traditional search volume is going to shift to an AI chatbot. So we can really see that as I said, the presence of AI, it's really here. It's taking up a lot of search traffic, and it's really informing your potential donors and supporters about your organization or not. So those were a lot of numbers. So let's take a look at what a real case study of how this might affect a nonprofit. Let's look at what this might be. So let's say that you are a nonprofit that is a network of food banks in Florida. And a potential donor types into Google, what are the most effective organizations working on food insecurity in the Southeast? Um, will your potential donor be able to find you? And the answer to that really depends on a lot of factors on your website. So you will not be showing up in this query if your impact data and other important information is hidden in PDFs or behind paywalls or email logins. Um, your mission language is vague or uses a lot of industry jargon or acronyms with no explanation, or your pages lack clear structure. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into each of these. So I do want to take a moment. We have a lot of data that we're going to be presenting to you, but from a content standpoint, I want to pause here and just talk through maybe a few ways that you could implement some of these changes on your website right away. So the first one, which I mentioned, which is, hiding impact data in PDFs, I'm going to use your annual report as a good example. So historically, nonprofits have made an annual report that might live in a PDF. You will have that PDF on your website. You might even have a nice little piece of software or plugin that allows it to be flipped through like a book. But the fact of the matter is, if it remains just a PDF or a document that you have to download, AI is not able to read it. So one of the trends that I have seen working with nonprofits is creating a landing page for the key points of your annual report. So it doesn't have to be the entire thing, but all of that great program data, all of the times sensitive data for the past year, those are great things to put onto a landing page that will then be searchable by AI bots. Next, when it comes to clarifying your mission, I know that this one can be a tricky one for nonprofits. We're all passionate people who love what we do. That's why we got into nonprofit, I am sure, or many of us got into nonprofit for that reason. And because of that, we tend to use some flowery or poetic language when it comes to describing our missions and our visions for the future. And for AI optimization, you really want to focus on clarifying that mission as much as possible. You want to be answering the who, what, and when and where of your mission to make it really a self-contained description for AI bots to grab and then present to people in AI overviews. And when it comes to page structure, we will go more in depth into this in future slides too. But I just want to challenge you to think about maybe your top 5 most visited pages or top 5 most popular blog posts, and maybe take a look at them and make sure that they're using proper headings, proper paragraph formatting, and within paragraphs, have some self-contained information. So you want one paragraph to really answer a question that a potential donor might have. Um, and lastly, when it comes to clear structure, using alt text with images is really important. Images in and of themselves, or even text that is saved as an image and shown on your website, is not findable by AI. So you want to make sure that you're giving that explanation on sort of the back end of the website so that AI is able to read what that image is. So that was mostly about how to structure content. But now we're going to dive into what to actually put into that content to make sure that your organization is showing up as one of the cited sources in an AI overview or AI answer. Princeton University tested 9 optimization methods and measured AI citation rates. So I'm not going to read through them all. As a reminder, you will be getting these slides in our follow-up. But at the top of this list was credible sourcing and specific statistics. Exactly what nonprofits have a lot of in their program data and in their cases for support. And at the bottom, which actively detracts from AI ranking or AI citation, is keyword stuffing. So when we review all of these optimization methods, a pattern becomes clear, and that is using a subject matter keyword list is no longer enough to be discovered by AI. You really have to be demonstrating expert knowledge in your field in your web copy. And some additional findings. I think this is really great news for nonprofits. A couple more conclusions we can draw from all of this data are that quality writing is really what's winning in the fight for AI citation. We're not relying on tricks to fool the algorithm or keyword stuffing, as we mentioned. We are applying clarity and specific credible sources, demonstrating our expertise in the field. And additionally, writing specifically for algorithms tends to backfire. AI penalizes content that reads as if it was written for a machine or by a machine rather than a person. So the strongest signals that AI rewards are the hallmarks of genuinely good content, which many nonprofits know how to write really well. And again, those are the key to having really excellent sources and authoritative content in your own industry. That's going to take you really far in AI citation. So now that we understand a little bit more of the why and the how of GEO and AI search, we're going to hear from Erin on the landscape of the AI search platforms that are most prevalent. And she's going to walk you through an 8-step playbook that's going to give you actionable steps to do right away to make sure that your organization is set up for success. So I'll hand it over to Erin.
Thank you, Daryl. All right, let's dive a bit deeper. Um, I guess the first distinction here, so Daryl alluded to, we're in the midst of a major shift in how search happens. And in the past, when people would say the word search, they would think Google. It was synonymous with Google, and Google is synonymous with their algorithm. So it was really just one thing. And the thing to understand now is that there is no single AI search. There's really 5 major systems that I've presented here, but there's a lot more than 5. These are just kind of the top ones, so we're going to cover them today. But they don't choose sources in the same way. And understanding a little bit about that can take you far in terms of like which platform you choose to use for a specific task, but also understanding how your users are using these platforms. So I'm not going to read off everything on, this table, but just to give you some summaries here, let's start with Google because that's the one that everyone is probably using every day. in the form of AI overviews and Gemini, which powers the AI overviews. Um, Unsurprisingly, AI overviews and Gemini are going to lean heavily on citing pages that are already ranking highly in Google. So
Mhm.
they want to carry over that investment that they have made in their algorithm over all of those years. And that's good news for people who have invested a lot in traditional SEO, search engine optimization, right? So that investment will carry over within AI overviews. And AI overviews still get the most impressions of anything because it's free, right? And everybody uses Google. ChatGPT, on the other hand, they search the live web only sometimes. They're known for relying a lot on their training data, and it's not necessarily the case that they're going to pull citations from the top pages linked on Google. They have a different logic where they will cite more obscure websites that just are establishing a web presence if they have great information that is credible, that is authoritative, and that is very specific. So, this is really good news if you're a very small nonprofit. Just know that you can still get cited in AI. You can be the top citation, even if your ranking is like on page 27 of Google. Um, Perplexity is a little bit different. Perplexity is known for being the tool that researchers use because it references the most citations. So it returns the most links and it always searches the live web. So Perplexity ends up being a good diagnostic tool to check whether the fixes that you did today actually worked. So Claude and Copilot, a little bit different. So Copilot is mostly if you're in the Microsoft 365 universe, right? If your organization has adopted and you're using Microsoft 365 for nonprofits, which a lot of nonprofits are, then you're going to be familiar with Copilot. Copilot lives inside of Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. It's based on the Bing index. And if you want to get cited in Copilot, then really it's almost synonymous to getting cited in or getting ranked in Bing. But Copilot is it's more less for public data. They do have a public, search that you can use. But I think people mostly use it inside of those organizational tools that I just mentioned, and it trains on your own organization's data. So that's slightly different. Claude is its own animal. Claude really puts a lot of emphasis on like extractable text that is self-contained. Like all of them do, but particularly true of Claude. And it'll pull from the live web and training data. These tools, just like Google did with its algorithm, they keep some of these things in a black box. So we don't know precisely, but this is what we do know about these various tools. So five different selection logics, but the good news is there is one overlapping set of fixes, and that's why this is a manageable problem. So they all reward the same four things. And when I go through the playbook, everything I'm going to tell you about in the playbook is a derivative of one of these four things. So that should come as a relief to you. The first thing is clear structure. So we want headings that have the form of a question and then body paragraphs under them that answer that question in a standalone way. So that's going to take you really far right there. Authoritative sourcing. So having named authors on things, having credible citations. AI wants people to trust the information that it's giving, so it puts a very high value on credible information. And it's not good enough anymore to put on a blog post like the author of admin or staff. Like you want, AI wants to see real people, real experts in their fields sharing content that is heavily cited with a lot of recent statistics and verifiable claims. Then we have fresh content. So I cannot emphasize enough that recency equals relevancy. That's true for Google. It's also true for AI. And now on websites, you'll see dates popping up in places that you never saw them before. So formerly, you put a date on a blog post, and that would be the dynamic section of your website. Well, gone are those days. Now we need to see the last updated date on your primary program pages. We want to see current data. Like that holds a lot of importance to AI that you're sharing things within the last year or two. And then finally, machine readable formatting. So when I say semantic HTML, machine readable, like these are fancy terms. What it really means is AI needs to be able to understand your content. And the way it does that is we make it easy for that content to scan and and then we make it easy to interpret and understand. So scannability has to do with, whether your site is open to indexing, whether your information is buried in PDFs, or if it's actually in nice, clean, valid HTML that lives on your website itself. Um, and then whether or not you have deployed schema, which I'm going to get to in a moment. Whether or not your images have good, clear alt text on them, right? So one quick example here, a lot of people will put as a header on their website, perhaps on their homepage, like our programs, right? As a way to introduce their programs. But that's a label, okay? But better to phrase it in the form of a question. So what programs does fill in the blank org run in rural counties? Right, that's a heading that AI can match to an actual query. So if you optimize for these four, you are improving on every platform at once. Next slide. All right, so now I'm going to present the playbook. These are 8 steps. I have ordered them by priority. So the first 2 or 3 matter the most. None of these require rebuilding your website, importantly. And you will get all 8 as a checklist after this presentation. So you can just drop your pen, sit back, and be present with me. All right, so let's look at step 1. All right, if you change only one thing after today, please make it this one. You have to think of AI more like a surgeon holding a scalpel. It's not going to return full pages, right? So in the days of Google, people go in and type keywords. They type the keywords that they want to appear on the pages that are going to be returned to them. And then they have to search through those pages looking for, those keywords and that information. AI is expected to do better than that. AI is expected to extract very targeted information that answers a very targeted query. So therefore, it's more like a surgeon that goes in with a scalpel and cuts out little snippets of text. And so what's important to AI is that those passages are self-contained and extractable. So those are like 2 buzzwords for today, self-contained and extractable. I'm going to read both of these statements on the left and the right, and I want you to compare and contrast. So on the left, we have, for over 20 years, our organization has been dedicated to serving communities in need through a variety of programs and partnerships that address the root causes of food insecurity. All right, so I see statements like this on a lot of nonprofit websites. I'm sure every word of that is true, but none of that answers a real question that a user might have. AI looks at that and says, okay, there's nothing in here that we can cite that's verifiable. So now I have to go do work to verify this claim. And if AI has to do work, AI is lazy. It doesn't want to have to work that hard. It wants to find the passage that just answers the question. So it will go pick a different source, like the one on the right. Organization is a food security nonprofit that provides meals to 15,000 people across 12 counties in 2025. Our 3 core programs address food insecurity at the neighborhood level. Right. Okay. So what we've done there is we've answered who, what, how many, where, and when. And I want to point out too that this version on the right is actually shorter in character count than the version on the left. So sometimes being more specific helps you be more concise too, and gets rid of some of that flowery language that Daryl was talking about. So um, think about your own content. Think about the content on your most important pages today. Do you have at least one paragraph on each page like that that would function as an answer to the question of what that content is all about? And if you don't, I would encourage you to create that. All right. So probably the most important thing you could do. Let's move on to step 2. All right. Impact data. So nonprofits are sitting on this gold mine of data that you have collected and only you own. And when it comes to citability in AI, there's nothing better than that, right? AI wants original data and it wants authoritative data. The problem is that most of the impact data that nonprofits collect is sitting in PDFs. And I term this the PDF problem because, most impact reports, most white papers, I've seen nonprofits with PDF libraries that range up into the thousands of documents. Um, and that's great for human readers, not so great for AI. So AI crawlers cannot reliably read PDFs. Um, if your impact data is only in something that you have to download and then use another app to open, you can see the trouble there of how AI would never see it. We don't want to eliminate the PDFs. I want to be clear. Keep the PDFs for your donors. There are some cases where it makes sense to have a PDF that somebody can download, but just stop letting it be the only home for those numbers. So, real true life example here. We served 4,200 families in 2025. That is citable. We help thousands. That is not. And keep in mind, if you add a year to your statistic, it's going to get cited far more often than if you leave that out. We know that there is a 37% citation lift if you include specific statistics like that. And that's from the same Princeton study that Daryl covered. So basically, you've already done the hard work of collecting this data, and this is all about moving it somewhere that a machine can read. All right, step 3, building FAQ pages around real questions. So FAQs are the highest return content type for AI citation. And most nonprofit FAQ pages are not built in the way that is optimized for AI. So here's what's really going on. When people go to AI, they are asking full questions. Like, is anyone old enough to remember Ask Jeeves? Because I am. Back in those days, people went to, a search engine and they asked a full question. Now people just go to Google and they type in keywords. But that trend is shifting back because now we have Gemini and we have AI overviews. So people are shifting back to asking long form, prompts that are built around questions. And the FAQ is the only content format where your headings are already full questions. So that's why they're so important. These 3 examples I have here show a question the way a human would actually type it or speak it. Keep in mind when I use AI, and I'm an AI power user, I guess you could term it because I use it all day long. I don't type it, I speak it into a microphone. So it truly is conversational. And most nonprofit FAQs, the way that they answer questions, like they'll try to think about what questions are most relevant to them rather than to their users. So the takeaway here is you should look in your inbox, look in your intake calls, look at what questions your real users, your staff, your volunteers, like how are they phrasing the questions? You don't want to invent them yourself. And you certainly don't want to have AI write them. You want to take them from real humans. And then have your answer be about 50 to 100 words, make it self-contained. I would discourage you from using things like as mentioned above or like see our programs page for more info. Like, no, summarize it, give all of the information that AI needs right there, because if the answer needs the page around it, then it is not going to be extracted. Try to make your FAQs 10 real questions and 10 self-contained answers. All right, next step. Implementing schema markup. So some of you may have heard of schema. It's a little bit more techy. It goes a little bit too technical for this presentation, but schema is really nothing more. Schema.org has existed for a long time. That's the organization that invented schema. They've been around a while. They're just getting picked up now because AI wants things to be labeled, and hey, we have this system already for labeling things. There's over 1,500 attributes that are defined in the schema markup library, and I'm only putting 5 here because these are the 5 that I think are relevant to basically every nonprofit. You should have probably all 5 of these. So nonprofit type, organization, just letting AI know, hey, we represent a nonprofit, and here's the type we are. Are you 501c3, C4, C6? What are you? FAQ page. Yes, you can label which page is your FAQ page to remove all doubt about that. Article. this would go on like a blog post, right? Like, and how to. So these are things, this is that semantic layer I was referring to earlier. If you implement schema, you're going to see a 30 to 40% lift in your AI visibility, and that's enormous. This is something that a competent developer can do. It's a one-time investment. It's the only thing in the playbook that actually costs money to do. Let's say this is the most expensive one. But it is something that is worth doing, and you get in, get out. And any competent developer, like I said, would know how to do it. So this is the kind of slide probably that you're going to just delegate out to a developer instead of, going off and diving into the whole schema library yourself. Um, but it's a big, big win. So I would not skip this. All right. Step 5, establishing authority signals. Important to know that AI does not take your word for who you are. It's going to cross-reference you. It's going to run the equivalent of a background check on you. And the way that it runs that background check is in multiple ways. So these are just some of the ways. First of all, it's going to look up the authors that you name. It's going to look for a bio, look for credentials. It's also going to look for things like organization pages. What's an organization page? Well, a lot of nonprofits find these pages too boring and factual to include. They're pages that point out things like your federal tax ID number, your founding year, the scope of your services, what programs you offer. Um, People that are sitting on boards or represent leadership at nonprofits usually think, well, that information is scattered all around our website. If you want that information, you can find it. Well, sure, but I refer back to what I said about extractability and being self-contained. If it's all in one place, you're making it easy for AI to find that. And so I would recommend all of you go off and create a page like that. You also want to keep an eye on third-party mentions. If your nonprofit does not have a Wikipedia article, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Go make one today, because this stat on the right is true. You will see a 6.5 times, sorry, you're 6.5 times more likely to be cited through a third-party mention than your own domain. These domains that are, things like Wikipedia, have so much domain authority that if AI finds you there, then that's a huge trust and authority signal. Same goes with Charity Navigator. I would have a recently updated profile on there. Same goes with GuideStar. And then any kind of industry press. AI likes to see you mentioned in multiple places, and especially places that have a very high domain authority. So these 3 that I've referenced here meet that criteria. And then you just want to keep those profiles current, because inconsistency across sources reads as unreliability. So, yeah, step 6, making sure that AI can find you. Everything that I've said so far assumes that AI can reach your site, but sometimes that's not true. And most organizations really have no idea where they land here. So I'm going to introduce the concept of a robots.txt file. If you haven't heard of this, it's a little file that rides along every website that tells crawlers what they may access and what they may not. Sometimes it is created by a developer, sometimes it's auto-generated by a security plugin, sometimes it's a host default. Unfortunately, a lot of the times nobody is making a deliberate decision about this, and they're surprised to find out that they have universally disallowed all AI from crawling their site. So if a platform's crawler is blocked, that platform generally cannot cite you, like no matter how optimized you are, no matter how well you followed the rest of the advice here. In this table, I am giving you, for these 5 platforms, the name of the bots, and I have these starred if it's the bot that actually collects the training data. So this is important. The unstarred ones handle search and citations, but the starred ones collect training data. So blocking the starred bot does not remove you from that platform's answers. What that means is that you can decline to feed AI training and still be found. So if your board has taken a position on AI and content, this is the slide that you want to bookmark because it shows that you don't have to choose between principle and visibility. Notice a couple of nuances here. Perplexity has no asterisk at all. Their documentation is explicit that they do not use anything they crawl for training. And then Microsoft Copilot, like that's an interesting case too. They don't have an explicit bot that just does training. So it's really something that you should check. And in fact, I would like to challenge everyone to check this right now. Go to yourdomain.org. It's okay. Just open another window. You can leave us behind for a moment. Go to your domain, whatever that is, .org/robots.txt. Okay, do it right now. I'm going to give you a minute. This is a public file. This works on any site. If it's defined, it should be defined. And it takes just a few seconds to look. Now, look for disallow next to any of these bot names that are listed in this table. Um, and I invite you to share your reactions in the chat. You don't have to say what it says, but just say, I'm surprised by what I found here. Um, and yeah, lots of disallow. Yeah. So that's interesting, right? If you would like, this is a really valuable, maybe the most valuable thing I can give you. Here's a little gift. I'm going to copy and paste in a little text snippet, which I'm going to call the cite me, don't train on me snippet. So basically what I've shown you here is how, and this is just for ChatGPT and Claude. Okay, so I'm giving you examples of like two of these. But this is exactly what you would put in your robots.txt file if you don't want your data to be used for training, but you still want to get cited. Okay, you're welcome. This is the posture that most nonprofits want to take. And this is exactly how to do it. So,
Aaron, can I interrupt for just a moment? And can you say
yeah.
the URL that you would like folks to look up one more time, how they should type it in?
Yeah, so you would go to your domain, like that might be secondharvest.org, that might be charactercounts.org. Like go there / robots.txt. So you just fill in the name of your organization.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Now I'm gonna give everybody one more minute to do that. All right, yeah. Disallow is blank. Oh yeah, all right. Disallowed. And did you know that it was disallowed? Okay. No AI tools show up under allow or disallow. Yeah, if you have a blanket, right, so that little star user agent asterisk, that just means that's a wild card. It means all, right? So any user agent is like it's referring to any user agent there. Wow, disallowed. Yep. And that's probably because back in 2022, 2023, when people started getting aware of AI for the first time, they were rightfully so alarmed that these third-party tools were using their data, or the fear that they were using their data to train on. Um, and people decided, we're going to go into our robots and just disallow all. And that blanket disallow is actually making it impossible for AI to even see you. When really the concern is that people don't want their data to be used for training purposes, right? So, yeah, so user agent star. So Caitlin, that just means allow all user agents to crawl starting at the root directory of your website. Right, so that's fine. Um, yeah, a crawl delay is really just a line in there that is there to say how many milliseconds, I believe, between pages. It's if you've been hacked in the past, that's where you're going to see a developer put in a crawl delay. Talk to your developer about that. Okay. Yeah, so somebody pasted in a Yoast block, proving my point here that if you have an SEO tool like Yoast, oftentimes it will auto-generate your robots file for you, and you really should have a developer who knows how to interpret these files, read that and make sure that it's representing what you want as an organization. All right, let's go to the next step. LLMs.txt. So this is a emerging standard. LLMs.txt is another file. It rides along a website just like robots.txt. You probably have also heard of sitemap .xml. So these three files, I call them the three musketeers. So they kind of work together. And what they do is, so robots.txt we just covered, it says what a bot is allowed to crawl and what it's not. Um, sitemap.xml says, here's all the pages of our site. And then LLMs.txt does something really special though. It basically says, here's a curated map of all the pages that we most want AI to find. So you get to decide what pages get priority, and you're giving little pointers. It's like a treasure map for AI. You're saying if you're looking for this kind of information, go to this section. And so this is really where you have agency as a nonprofit leader to say, like, here are the pages I most want AI to uncover, and to surface those. So this standard, I put it lower down in the playbook because there's no confirmed usage of crawlers. Like we don't know for sure that all the crawlers are looking at this file. What we do know is that the largest websites in the world have an LLMs.txt file. It is getting rapid adoption. Why not? It's a low effort, no downside thing with an uncertain payoff, but it doesn't take that long to create. And it doesn't even really take a paid developer to create. So I would consider doing that. Definitely don't have AI write your LLMs.txt file, by the way. Write it yourself, because that's the whole point, is that a human gets to write that. AI doesn't get to decide. All right, last step of the playbook, and then we're going to head into Q&A. All right, so keeping your content fresh. As I said before, recency equals relevancy, and AI weights recency very, very heavily. This is where a lot of nonprofit sites will quietly lose ground because let's say back in like 2021, you had that unicorn volunteer show up with great writing skills, and they're like, I'm going to rewrite this whole website. And, they gave you some great copy, but it's from a few years ago. And you look at it now and you're like, this is still true. It's like, yeah, it might still be true, but it still has that old 2021 date on it. So even if the content is still accurate, it looks abandoned to a machine if it has an old date on it. So everybody that has, if you go to your footer right now, usually there's a copyright, whatever year. If that doesn't say 2026, you want to fix that. And you want to add that last updated date on your key pages. For impact data, you want to refresh that. It's good to refresh it quarterly, like that's the gold standard, but I'm a practical person. Try to refresh it in the current calendar year, right? And just know that any undated content will lose to dated content, even if the undated content is better than the dated content. Not wrong content. It could be accurate. It could be more in depth. It doesn't have a date on it. It's way less likely to get sorted. So the thing to do there is put a recurring quarterly reminder into your calendar to go in and update your top 5 pages. And Daryl already mentioned that once. I'm going to echo that. And really, that's the whole thing. That's the whole playbook, folks. I have a couple more notes before we dive into Q&A. You knew this was coming. I'm the accessibility director. I had to say something about this because this is how I found AI. The good news about this is that a lot of you have earned authority in AI you didn't know you had if you have been investing in inclusive design. So if you've been looking at how to make your website more accessible, you've been adding alt text, you've been cleaning up your headers, you've been making it easier for screen readers to interpret. Well, guess what? A screen reader and an AI crawler both consume your site without seeing it, so they need the same things. So if you look at heading hierarchy, for example, a screen reader user rather, will navigate through headings. Guess what? So does a crawler. plain language, having language that is written for cognitive accessibility for people with learning disabilities, um, content that is more concise, more broken down into bullet points, like easier to digest. That's also something that AI appreciates, and it makes your information more extractable. Alt text, because AI is effectively blind to images. So alt text is the only context that it gets for your images. So all of these things to say, yes, accessibility is a legal and ethical obligation first. It should never really need a business case at this point. But if you are fighting for budget internally to get it supported, this is one more very practical argument for why you should be investing in inclusive design. Okay? Uh, all right. And then common mistakes to avoid. I've given you a lot of things to do. Here's one last little warning slide about things you should not be doing. Don't stuff keywords. That's going to decrease your visibility. You want to write for AI and not humans. You want to not gate your best content because AI cannot log in to your private portal. It cannot scan your PDF reports. And ignoring your third-party presence, saying like, oh, we'll update our Charity Navigator profile next month. No, update it today. That profile is probably earning more citations than your website. The biggest thing here to do that I can say is don't wait to do this. I know some of you in here probably have some qualms, maybe some ethical concerns about AI. I'm certain I share all of those with you, okay? But I would encourage you all not to wait because if you start building your citation list today, it's going to be very, very hard for anyone else to catch up with you. You will be a first mover in your space and you will be the organization that gets visibility. And I would hate to see you lose that because all of you out there are doing amazing, incredible things. And I don't want concern about this to prevent people from even knowing that you exist. So don't wait. Take a few of these actions today. One last slide, and then yeah, because I just want to address the questions that I hear the most when I'm talking to folks, when I do an AI consultation with nonprofits, which I do multiple times a week, and I get these questions. So, does GEO replace SEO? No, absolutely not. GEO requires SEO as its foundation. So, we are not throwing away traditional search and SEO. Um, do we need a big budget? No. So the only thing that I've said today that really costs money would be schema, schema implementation. Everything else lives in the content layer. So you don't have to be a developer. You can clean up your headings, make your content more readable, add an FAQ page, right? Maybe robots.txt, you'd have to get a developer to look at. But there's also lots and lots of guides online for how to write a good robots file. Is AI already citing you? I get that question every day. I don't know. Go to AI and ask. Figure out what kinds of questions users are actually asking about you. Just make up a prompt. Pretend that you're someone who doesn't know about you. And then go into ChatGPT, go into Perplexity, you don't have to buy into all of these tools, by the way. You are allowed a certain number of free prompts before you have to buy it. And just check once a month and then save the output so you can track it over time. Um, and then people ask me all the time, how long until we see results if we do these things? Because, probably you're familiar with SEO and how long that takes. That can take months to years. Well, the good news is that AI moves a lot faster. So crawler and FAQ fixes, you're going to see that propagate in a matter of days or weeks. And then for deeper authority and the highest visibility in AI, maybe 3 to 6 months. On the shorter end of that spectrum, if you're doing everything in the playbook, but it's actually a lot faster than traditional SEO. So that's the good news. And if you want to see where you are as an organization today, we do have a special offer. So next slide.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Go back.
Yeah, actually, you know what, Daryl? Go ahead and jump the gun. You can go to
Okay.
the scorecard one.
The
So
scorecard. Okay.
we developed this handy tool. Yeah, it would be the next slide. We developed a handy tool at Elevation for checking how visible your nonprofit is today. It's called the AI Visibility Scorecard. If you're interested in seeing how your site scores on everything that we talked about, you would go there. It only asks for, your email address to send your report to and the URL of your organization, and then it'll give you an instant result, like within a couple of minutes. And we really worked hard to develop this tool. We did an AI readiness study. We looked at over 500 nonprofit sites to get a clear picture of where people are standing today and common practices. So I really, really encourage that. Could you bounce me back one slide?
Yes.
So we can just talk about the checklist. Right. So the
Mhm.
checklist would be go to Ask ChatGPT and Perplexity and put in the questions your donors ask. See what shows up. See if you show up at all. Look at your robots.txt. You can check that off. You already did it. You're welcome.
Yep.
And then add last updated to your key pages. Don't lie about it. Actually update the pages. Give them a read through. And then, oh, somebody is already using the scorecard. Elizabeth, yay! All right, and then move one impact stat out of a PDF and into an HTML page. Just one. You don't have to do it for a whole impact report. In this quarter, maybe want to think about rewriting some key pages to open with direct answers, build an FAQ page around real donor questions, get that schema propagated through the site, and then update your third-party profiles. So that would be the checklist. Um, let's see, how do we check our scorecard again? Yeah, you can go in to elevationweb.org/AI underscore visibility underscore scorecard. And so since you'll get the slides, you have access to this right now, but yeah, so we have some people getting, okay, B plus is hard to get. Don't be discouraged by this. Like,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I'm seeing some really good scores. It's hard to get an A plus. It's really, really hard to get an A plus. But yeah, I mean, if you're getting a lower score, it just means that like that's actually kind of exciting that you have a bunch of stuff that you can fix and now you know exactly what to do. All right, we have 5 minutes and I don't want to take up any more time. Let's jump right into questions. So I'm looking over some of the questions. We have a question from Aaron Shaver. Our most
Mhm.
up-to-date info goes in email newsletters. Should those be added as posts to our website too? Yes, 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 yes. You want to take those newsletters. Most people post their newsletter archive as PDFs to a page on their website that's like newsletter archive. I would absolutely extract all that text and turn a newsletter into a blog post. A
Yeah.
hundred percent. Yeah, 100%. And that's something not a lot of nonprofits are doing. So
Yeah.
that'll give you a leg up.
Can I add a little
Um,
on, Erin?
yeah, add on.
Um, what I would recommend and what I recommend to a lot of my clients is to take something like a newsletter where you have a lot of fresh content and piece that out into a lot of different places. So yes, absolutely put it as a post on your website. Then it's getting you all that good coverage from the AI bots, but then also make a note if you've reached a milestone, update your Wikipedia page, update your charity navigator, push that out on socials. So that's covering those third-party platforms as well and making sure that information stays the same across platforms, which Aaron mentioned being really important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions?
We do have some in the Q&A.
Okay. All right.
What defines the live web versus data models?
Mm.
How different AI models find their sources?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the live web. So like so basically what tools do is they'll go off and they'll scan the live web and then they'll store into a data model. Right? They'll store into their tool information that they find. So they're building their own like huge network of interconnected information based on things that it finds on the live web. The live web is just a snapshot of the web as it exists today. Um, a lot of tools reference the live web, but we know in the particular case of ChatGPT, which is really interesting, that ChatGPT relies a lot on its training data and less on live web. Um, So that's just a nuance of ChatGPT that I think a lot of people are not familiar with. Um, all right. We have from Amy, is there a Yoast equivalent for GEO? Um, like Yoast, I'm not as familiar with Yoast. We use AIO SEO a lot here at Elevation, and I know that AIO SEO is building in some GEO, but it's kind of like the only person that or the only company I know that's doing GEO really, really well is SEMrush. And we are pulling a lot of data from SEMrush. SEMrush is not like a plugin for WordPress. So Amy, if that's what you were getting at, I don't think there is like a tool that's specifically just for GEO that you can download as a plugin in the same way that you can do for Yoast. But it's a very good question. And if I'm being honest, I don't exactly know, and I should probably go research that before, before I say that. I just haven't encountered it. I know that SEMrush is a trusted source, and that's where Elevation takes all of its information. Um, how much do you have to change on a page for it to improve content freshness? Um, I mean, I don't know that this has been quantified. I do know that like just having the last updated date at the bottom of the page, um, like really AI is going to look for that, and if it finds it, it's going to take it for gospel that like, okay, this was updated on that date. And so I would say you wanna not just slap last updated dates on things that is today's date. Like if you're going to modify it, actually do modify it. But I couldn't answer for you, and I think that AI doesn't really release those details. It's sort of like how Google doesn't release all the details of its algorithm. But that's again something I'd have to go off and research. Amy's full of the good questions. She's a
Mhm.
savvy gal. I know
Great.
Amy. Okay. Andrew, you were asking about the site URL. I'm not sure what that was in reference to. Probably the robots.txt thing. Um, so yeah, I would say all of these files are public files. So the way you find llms.txt is the same exact way that you find robots.txt. It's just a file that lives in your root directory on your host. So if you go to any website, by the way, this is a little tip. If you're not sure how to structure an llms.txt file or what should go in there, go to a website that you really like and put /llms.txt and see what they did. Right? You'll get a lot of examples. And yeah, same thing. You can go to any site and put /sitemap.xml, right? These are the three musketeers that I mentioned earlier. I think that that would do it for questions, and we're right at time. So I just want to thank everyone again. I'll let you close it out, Daryl, with any additional comments.
Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. We do have a couple more questions in the chat, but we are at time and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So, Erin, if people want to get in touch with you, is there a good way that they can ask those remaining questions?
Yeah. Aaron at elevationweb.org.
There you go.
I will get to as many of them as I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for this webinar. We hope that it was impactful for you and that you get some good takeaways from it. So thank you again. Have a fantastic rest of your week.
All right. Bye now.